Hi, second graders. This week we're going to be looking at 3-digit numbers and understanding what each of the digits in the number represents. This is lesson 10 in our Ready Math series, and so I'm just going to give you a little introduction to 3-digit numbers in this first activity. I think you can tell that I'm using the tens models, place value models, and I've got several out here right now. I just still need to put together this one section right here. But each of these sections, or tens, has 10 little ones all stuck together, as you can see. So this one here, I just still need to move them together and build that section of 10. So I'm going to go ahead and put them together here. All right, so each one of these has 10 ones, and the ones are the single pieces, right? So when I put 10 of them together, I know that each one of those represents the number 10. Let's see, so how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so there's one right there. This is a 10. I have 10 together, just as this one I have 10, and the rest of them. So if I were to count all of these, I would probably want to count them by tens, right? So I could, let me erase these, and we're going to go ahead and count how many we have all together. So this one would be 10, then I would have 20, then 30, then 40, and 50. All right, so I have 50 ones here represented. But if I were going to talk about how many tens models I have, I would just say that I have 5 tens. Okay, so the ones are when they're separate, right? This is a ones, and I know this whole group right here makes 10 ones, all right? Just as this is a stack of 10 ones, all right, and they're all stacked together. Here's another stack that has 10 ones all stuck together, okay? So each one of them is 10. There's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That's 50 ones, just as I wrote here. Or if I wanted to talk about how many tens there are, I have 5 tens, okay? So, how many more of these stacks of 10 would I need in order to have a total of 100 ones, or 100 cubes? You know, I could just take a whole bunch more out. I've got 50 so far, so I would need to take a bunch of those out. How about, instead of taking ones out, how many more tens would I need? Let's see. So I've got 50. I could add another one that makes 60. 70. I'm going to move them over a little bit. So there's 60, 70, 80, 90, and there's 100. So I'm going to go ahead and write underneath there. So I've got 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So now I have 100 cubes all together, or 100 ones, right? But how many, if I wanted to look at the stacks that have 10 in each, how many tens would that be? Well, let's count the tens. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, tens. So I have 10 tens, right? Now, here's the next question. If I have 10 tens, guess what happens when I put these all together? If I take these 10 tens and I put those all together, look what I get. I get 100. So in this model, I'm showing that I have 100 ones. There they are, each individual one. If I wanted to count them, I could. I don't really want to count them. Let me see. So, but there's 1, 2, 3. I could count them all like that. I would have to count 100 of them, and that would be time consuming. Or I could count them as tens, and if I were to just draw a line through 10, I would have, there's 1 10, there's 2 tens, and we said that we've got 10 of those here, right? 1, 2, and so on. Or I could forget about all that and just simply say that I have 100. I have 100 model, okay? A 100 or a hundreds model simply is a model that has 100 of all these little separate ones all smushed together and locked together. So it's 100 ones all locked together. So we have 100 model, okay? So that's this. So it looks like a square. All right. Now, I have a question for you. What if I had 2 of these? Let's take a look at this. Okay, well, before, when we looked at one of them, we said one of them is the same as 100 ones, right? One of them is 100 ones. So, but I have 2 of these. So if I have 2 of them, how many ones do I have now? I have 100 here, 100 over here, and 100 here. That makes 200 ones. Okay, now let's take a look at our tens. Remember, before we said that we had 10 tens. When we were only looking at one of them, there were 10 tens. So, but now I have doubled that amount. So instead of 10 tens, I have 10 over here. I have another 10 here. How many tens does that make? You're right, that's 20 tens. All right. Now, my question is, how many hundreds models do I have? Okay, so how many hundreds models do I have? Whoops. There's 100 and 2 hundreds. So I have 2 of the hundreds models. Okay, so I want you to pay attention during this lesson. We're going to be focusing on simply the number 100 for a while. But I do want you to be thinking about what we're talking about when we're talking about 100 or one of the hundreds models, or when we're talking about how many tens are there in 100, or how many ones are there in 100. So I want you to be thinking about that, and you can always come back and re-watch this part of the video to kind of refresh your memory, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our very first lesson. And we are in the instruction book on page 90. So if you'd like to go ahead and turn to page 90, this is where we are. We just have a lot of looking and thinking on this page, and it's going to be a little bit of a review of what we were just doing earlier with the place value models, okay? So we are going to be seeing that we can express 100 as 100 ones or 10 tens, right? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. This first part of the page shows us a chart that shows us how that we could count to 100, right? And if we wanted to, we could start at 1 and we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and count all the way up to 100, okay? And so here's my 100 at the very bottom of this chart. I could count by ones, which is what I was saying, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's counting every single one. But what's another way we could count to 100? If we don't use ones, somebody might be thinking to themselves, I bet we could count by twos and get to 100. And if you were thinking that, you would be right. We could skip count by twos. We could say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and go on and on and on until we got all the way up to 100. So that's another way we could count up to 100. What's another way? Something that we all know, something that's pretty easy for us. And if you're thinking fives, that's right, we could count by fives. We would start here and we'd say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and we'd just keep going all the way up until we got to 100. So that's another way that we could count to 100. And what's another way? Let's talk about one more way that we're all pretty familiar with, and that would be counting by tens, right? Yes, we could count by tens. Here is a group of 10 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 right there. 10, and the next group would give me 20, and then the next line shows me 30, and then the next line gives me 40, and so on, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, all the way up to 100. So we have many different ways of counting to 100. When we're talking about ones, tens, and hundreds, we are exactly talking about different ways that you can look at these 3-digit numbers, okay? So a 3-digit number is made up of ones, tens, and hundreds, okay? In different combinations. So now let's take a look at this think about it question. It says, think 100 is 100 ones. Oh, and I see them right here. Look at these. There's 100 ones. Okay, but it also says that 100 is also 10 tens, just like we were talking about earlier. 100 is also the same as 10 tens. So we could either have 100 ones, or we could stick them all together into groups of 10. Oh, I don't know what happened there. We could stick them all together into groups of tens, and here we go. And we could have 10 tens. So we've got 100 ones, or we could have 10 tens. All right, this at the bottom of this page is the only thing on this page that you'll have to do with your pencil. It says to circle the groups of 10 ones in 100. So they want you to circle the groups of tens. So with your pencil, you're going to go through and you're going to circle all these groups of tens. So go ahead and do that now. And you can pause the video and we'll just get right back to the next side of the page. Okay, I hope you finished circling your groups of 10 ones. All right, and you should have 10 groups circled. All right, let's move on to the next page. Okay, so now you should be looking at page 91 at the top. All right, it says that in this think about it, we're saying that 100 can be shown as hundreds or tens or ones. So in this first example, it's showing us the ones, right? They're all spread out, they're all separate. So the number 100 has how many ones? You are correct, it has 100 ones. Okay, let's look at the next group. Or 100 can be looked at as how many tens? Yes, you're right, there are 10 tens in 100. Okay, that's also the same as if we take them all and we just stick them all together, we still have 100, don't we? But how many hundreds models does 100 take? It only takes 1 hundreds models, okay? All right, so let's take a look at the chart. This chart down here shows us different ways that we can represent 100, or different ways to show 100, okay? Let's take a look and see if we can figure out which picture above would match each row on this chart. So if I were going to label this row 1, that could be row 1, here's row 2, and here's row 3. So we're going to see which one of the pictures above is represented in the rows. Okay, so let's take a look at row number 1. Row number 1 says that we could have 0 hundreds models, 0 tens models, but we could have 100 ones. Okay, so if we had 100 and we only used ones, we would have 0 hundreds, 0 tens, and 100 ones. So which one is showing us, which one of these pictures, this one, or this one, or this one? Which one of those goes with our row 1? And it would be this one right here. Let's see, I'm going to get a different color. It is this one, matches the first row. Okay, so this one shows us 100 ones. If that's what we had, we wouldn't have any tens, we wouldn't have any hundreds, we would just have 100 ones. Let's take a look at row number 2. Row number 2 is saying we could have 0 hundreds, but we could have 10 tens and 0 ones. So which one is showing us 0 hundreds, but 10 tens and 0 ones? Yes, you're right, it's this one in the middle. This one's showing us 10 tens, but we don't have any hundreds with it, and we don't have any ones with it. 10 tens shows us 100, okay? So 0 hundreds, 0 ones, but 10 tens. And then our last one, row number 3, actually is this picture right here, showing us that we could have 100 model, right? But then we would have 0 tens and 0 ones beside it. Okay, so that's 3 different ways to look at 100. We could either have 100 ones, or we could show it as 10 tens, or we could show it as 1 in 100. Down here it says a 3-digit number has a hundreds place. It tells how many hundreds there are in a number. So our little guy over here, a little, I don't know what he is, a beaver or something like that. It's saying that this number 100 is showing us how many hundreds we have. In red, it's showing us that we have 100 in the hundreds place. Okay? All right. Now, this is the last thing we have today. It says to think about the number 200. How many hundreds does 200 have? How many tens does it have? Or how many ones would it have? So they're saying, if we're talking about the number 200 instead of 100, how many ones would that be if I had 200? How many tens would that be if I had 200? And how many hundreds would that be if I had 200? Okay, so I think what we should do is make a little chart. And I'm going to just use the lines I have. And I need to kind of put a H in the middle there. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. So you could make this chart, okay? And let's see. I didn't give myself enough room, but this would be the hundreds. Okay, this column is the tens, and this column is the ones. All right, so it says the number 200. How many hundreds does 200 have? Okay, so let's take a look up here at this chart. This bottom row is telling us how many hundreds we would have in 100. Well, we want to know how many hundreds we have in 200. Okay, so we would put something here, and something here. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to fill out, we're only talking about this bottom row here, okay, showing us 100. I want to know what it would be for 200. So pause the video and then come back and see if you got it right. Okay, I hope you have it filled out. So if this is what you had, you are correct. The number 200 shows 2 hundreds, okay? 2 hundreds, 0 tens, and 0 ones. The next question wants to know, if we were to do it with tens, the number 200 would be how many tens, okay? So again, you're going to pause the video. You're going to have a number here, a number here, and a number here. Look up at the chart up here for the second row. The second row tells us how many tens there are for the number 100. We're doing the number 200, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and fill in the second row of this chart for how many tens there would be. Okay, I hope you have the chart filled in this way. For the number 200, if I were going to put that number just in tens, I would have 0 hundreds, but I would have 20 tens, and I would have 0 ones. Good job. And now the last one that you're going to do is tell how many ones there would be in the number 200. So look up here at the chart. You're looking at the first row of the chart up here. This is the example for 100 ones in the number 100. We're talking about 200. So how many ones would there be for the number 200? You'll have a number here, a number here, and a number here. Pause the video and fill out the chart. Okay, I hope you filled out the chart and that you knew that for the number 200, we would have 200 ones, and we would have 0 hundreds, 0 tens. All right, that does it for today's lesson. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a better understanding of what the number 100 means, and now what the number 200 means in tens, hundreds, and ones. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.